This is Donna with More Than a Review, and I'm thrilled to be back here again with Betty. I interviewed her last year, and so much has happened. I'm just thrilled for her to be able to update us on the success that she's been having. So Betty, go ahead and tell the audience just a little bit about yourself.
Well, as last year, I was a first-time author, and I was wonderfully blessed to be able to have my book, The River, win a SEPA, Christian Indie.
And your first book, that's amazing.
It was my first book, and to win the General Fiction Award for that. And so that kind of started my journey, because I didn't start this journey out thinking, one day I'm going to be a writer one day. I didn't really figure that to be. God just kind of has orchestrated that. So part of my journey this year, since having written The River, is to learn the industry, which is massive, to also learn better the craft of writing. And there was so much to improve on that I've been doing that. One of the ways I've been doing that is to, in addition to writing towards writing book 2 of the trilogy with The River, is to learn more in the writing craft. So I've written several devotionals. I have one that's being published Christmas time in Guidepost, and then I have another devotional in a compilation of devotions in the by Abundant Books.
Okay.
So they'll be coming out by Christmas. So.
Wow. So people who may be, they may not know The River, so tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about the trilogy.
Okay. So The River, my best way to describe it is a cross between a modern day Pilgrim's Progress. Some people may not know that book, but it's an allegory of the Christian walk, and The Shack. Oh. So it's set in modern times with the character Melissa, and she is going what she thinks on vacation, and goes to Germany to meet a friend, and crosses over into a supernatural realm where time is different, everything is different, but she meets supernatural beings, she meets Jesus, she meets other people on the river who are taking their spiritual journey. And through the things she experiences on the river, she learns she has a lot of what I call baggage. You know, we all have the stuff that we come into life with, hurts, pains, fears, anxieties, many things. She gets free of those as she's on the journey with the Lord's help, and becomes a transformed person. And in that transformation, really becomes a disciple of Christ for the end.
Yeah. So I've heard you have a workbook coming. So kind of talk about how that will kind of...
Well, after my book was published and it was put out, I had, let's see, 3 different ladies from 3 different churches contact me. A Nazarene church in Florida, a Vineyard church in Columbus, and another church that was Church of Christ, I think it was, who had read the book and wanted to teach it as part of a women's Bible study. And I hadn't really thought about that, and so they're contacting me saying, do you have a devotional, do you have a journal, do you have a workbook to go with this book, because it's so amazing, the stories, and it really helps people in their Christian walk. And I said, no, but that's a great idea. So that started me on the process of writing this journal, workbook, kind of a guidebook, I would say, more for people on their own personal journey as they read the book, for God to begin to change them as well.
I love that for so many reasons. Like, I love to tell readers, feel free to reach out to the authors, because you know, helping you know that that's something we would want is an excellent resource, just an added resource.
And it stretched me in a little different for writing this kind of a thing, because I take 2-3 different aspects of each chapter of Melissa's journey and says, you know, have you ever had this experience? Has this been like you, and how has it changed you, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's excellent. So talk about, so it's a trilogy, so you're working on the next book. Anything you could tell us so far about that?
The second book is called The Call, and it literally starts with a real phone call. Melissa is in the airport going home. her phone goes off, she looks at it, and it's like, who is this? And it's actually coming from the supernatural realm. It's one of the angels that she met on her journey who is calling her to begin to tell her what the next steps are going to be as she's back in her real life world, but that the supernatural encounters that she experienced on the river will become part of her everyday life. So the call is really about, again, another transforming of Melissa into reality of her world, but living and walking her Christian faith daily. A lot of warfare that we know because our world is so dark. Dealing with people who she encounters both for salvations, healings, deliverances, whatever's happening. So
That's
it's the
exciting.
forward. And then the last one, there's going to be at the end of the call, she's going to have there be an antagonist that she's going to encounter who will become a love interest in the end. But in this book, who will oppose her every way he can. But he'll get one over. I won't say how to give it away, but in the end. And so book 3, which is called The Awakening, is about the very end days and how life is going for the end days with her at work.
Very good. So I'm going to ask you, what was your inspiration for writing The River?
Well, that was strictly the Lord, because when I had a lot of people at conferences, speakers who would walk up to me and say, God's just telling me you're supposed to write. And it's like, okay, thanks for that. And I made note of it, so-and-so at this conference said, write. And I just kind of tucked it away. And after about 5 of those, one, as I was preparing to go in to a next year, I just started praying, Lord, what is it you want me to focus on this coming year? He said, get out those words about writing. I want you to write. So I was thinking it was going to be workbooks, because I'm a teacher at heart. I teach at church. I speak. And that's what I thought. And then he said, I want you to write a fiction, Christian fiction. And he started giving me the ideas. And I thought, I don't read those kind of books, Lord. I don't even know what I'm doing. And he just kind of basically, I'll guide you, I'll help you all the way through. And so I would literally, I know it sounds crazy and supernatural, but I would literally pray, sit down at the computer, take a deep breath, and I would just close my eyes and I would start getting whole chapters would just be downloaded to me. And I would start typing away, which was kind of interesting when we went to edit, because some was past tense, present tense, future tense, all these things, but it was a process.
But that's so amazing. I mean, that you start from the calling and you followed it, and then you win an award for it. I know you feel like you weren't equipped, but that's amazing.
I was not equipped, and I was astounded when I did win the Christian fiction for general fiction. And at the same time, it's a pressure, because it's well, when's the next one, and what's it going to be, and it's going to be as great as the other, and it's I had nothing to do with the greatness of the first one, so it's a pressure a little bit.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So anything else you would want to tell readers kind of about the books and just about your journey?
Well, I'd have to say that the writing journey for me it's been interesting, because there's a lot of me when I go back and read in the stories that I'm creating. There's a lot of me, both of things that I have either done or have a desire to do. So in some ways I'm living out through Melissa another life in a sense, but it's been a real stretching, because coming into the writing realm, it's an industry, and I knew nothing about the industry, and it's so huge and so many angles and aspects that you can take. And so learning about those and learning how to perfect the craft of writing. Just because you have an idea does not mean that you would write it out well. So when I first had it edited, and the person said, I need you to cut 100,000 words.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like, what? And then she turned around and said, but here I need to know more. And here I need to know more. And I said to her, I'm confused. How do I cut that many words and then you want more here and more here and more here? And she said, the Lord will help you, don't worry about it. And it was like, okay. And he did. And that's part of learning the craft, is how to say what you want in a very tight way and things like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of edits. A lot of bloody red ink on a paper, for sure.
Oh, which you can't take personally.
No, you can't.
Oh, all right. So I always like to close an interview with, is there anything that you think readers would be surprised to know about you?
What they would be surprised to know about me? Probably the fact that even though I speak a lot, I preach, I travel and speak, we are all very much, in a sense, insecure in that we have what it takes that God needs. And so I do a lot of praying because of that. But being transparent is that I'm only who I am and can be because of the Lord. So, and there's nothing in here for sure.
But I think that's a great encouragement for all of us, that when we don't feel prepared, like He will work through us to do what needs to be done.
Yes,
So,
when we're weak, He's strong.
yeah,
And recognizing that is the thing. I am so in need, Lord.
yeah. But still doing it. You've stretched yourself so much this last year.
I have,
Yeah.
yes.
So I guess one more thing. I always thought I'm going to end the interview and I'll think of one more thing. Like, what would you give advice for somebody either wanting to write or in the process of writing their first book?
I would say join some great writing groups. I didn't even know that they were out there, that they existed. And I had a wonderful helper, Susan Neal, I think you've interviewed her before, who came alongside as a wonderful mentor. She said, you need to join Word Weavers. And I said, what's Word Weavers? And we're here today for ASA, the American Writers and Speakers Association, and the American Christian Fiction Writers, to join some groups like that and be part of a small group accountability where we write every month. We're writing something, which sometimes with a busy schedule, it's like, I don't have time to write anything. But to actually write something, and we go to meetings and we let each other see it, we read it, we critique it, and they say, you're too wordy here, I need to know more here, never use that word. It's a big help.
Oh, that is great.
And it's really been a help. Plus, you hear their stories of how it has taken them and their journey in writing. Everybody's different, but the thread is that the Lord gives us all something in the writing industry, a little niche that we come into. So,
and something to share that is impacting so many people already. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
So her book again is The River. You can find it anywhere books are sold, online or in a bookstore. So thank you guys for joining us.